do our funeral. Oh. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
And
Today,
goodbye to the season.
today we are gathered to remember what could have been an amazing season, but instead is resulting in big, dumb steamroll of people that no one wants to see steamroll together. We'll get to all of the details soon, but this is a moment of grieving for the franchise. Last week had the potential to set this season into top tier ending, and then Dan won HOH, which Anthony and Victoria solidified with Dan and Kristen for some ungodly reason. They sent home Alex, which yay, David Fassbender stuck around. But then David wasn't wise enough for once, and you will not hear me say this often. For once, Maris actually had a good read. I know. Maris had a good read and was like, David, Anthony, and Victoria didn't target Dan in the triple. Are they going to vote him out? I think, I don't know if they will. It was like, no, it's fine. We're going to evict Dan. And did not go home. Now at the final, right now 8, but in a couple of hours 7, and we know who the next boot will be, options. You've got a majority 4-person alliance that, for the most part, does not plan on breaking up. That I think can pretty much steamroll comps from this point forward.
I'm not totally sure that they don't want to break up. I'm not totally sure they want to go to the Final Four together.
We'll get to each of the individual cases. So that is that. But that's essentially it. So yes, Alex went home first, followed by Haley and Riley, who went home in the triple eviction. However, they are not out just yet. The two of them are facing off in a sudden death competition in just a couple of hours. So we actually don't know which of them technically is juror number 4, but we know that it will be one of them. So there's that.
All right. Should we get started?
Mm-hmm.
Is this right?
Yep, everything's updated. Oh, well, that should be 9, but now everything else is updated. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't even want to do this. I don't.
I literally, looking at my scores this week, there are, I'm just literally, Steve and I were saying, we just lost interest at this point.
It's giving, I remember why we stopped doing video rankings.
And it's not a thing of we don't like the people in the game. I love that Anthony's doing well. I love that Dan's doing well. I just hate that they're playing dumb and steamrolling. It's not interesting to watch. We'll get to everything. For now, we start with Alex. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Alex, unfortunately, has finally drowned. We have reached the end of the metaphor. Alex has drowned. You put up a good fight. Last week was one of the, if not one of the best vote clips we've ever seen. Single-handedly put in by a nominee. That was insane. Where was it? His big mistake was literally, I do appreciate that Alex's game this season, as with pretty much every season, but especially this season, has been very I'm here to have a good time, and therefore I'm going to be straightforward with you. Therefore, if I'm telling you something, you know it's true. I'm not going to bullshit you. So he messed up in 2 cases with that this week. 1, he told Dan and Kristen, I love you both, but yeah, if I stay, I am going to put you both up. That was mistake number 1, because David, his opponent, whether he meant it or not, was like, Dan, I'll make safety with you. Kristen, I'll make safety with you. I will keep you safe. Please. That was mistake number 1 against Alex. Mistake number 2 against Alex wasn't actually Alex's fault. but Alex should know that he shouldn't deal with dumb people. And unfortunately, he dealt with Victoria and he dealt with Anthony, um, who are the scientific term is dumb people. So that was mistake one and mistake number two. Unfortunately, I can't be too nice with my score. He did really do it to himself this week. He should have stayed had he just like put in like just a slightly better campaign. So I am gonna go down to a 2.
Yeah, I mean, it is really upsetting seeing from what we saw last week to this week. For me at least, I feel like Alex has been um a little bit dead in the water for a few weeks now, and almost made that comeback, but then Anthony and Victoria
So
just like
dumb.
didn't. Anyway, I'm also gonna go to a 2. Alex is so hard on himself. Alex is
Book cramp. Oh my god, ow. Okay, keep going, keep going.
Alex is his own worst hater. How am I supposed to
Ow. Ow. Oh my god, I'm sorry.
put in
Ow.
waiting room? Should I put you in the
Holy
waiting room?
crap. Ow. Ow.
Um,
Oh my god. Okay,
actually, I'm
keep
sorry. Wait, I had Alex at a 3. I'm sorry. I'm
You
changing.
have Alex at a 3?
Yeah, I didn't want to go that low on Alex. Um,
Oh my
it
god.
does
Okay.
suck.
Better
Okay.
now.
It does, like, Alex is his own biggest hater. It's so funny, but it's so sad. Like, Alex, you're not terrible. Please stop.
No, last week was one of the greatest games we've ever seen in this game. And like Alex's listen, Alex's positioning the whole game has been bad. And that's largely, let's ring up this old record player again, due to everyone say it with me, Murph and Nora. But his reads this season have been very good. It's been okay. I need Anthony and Victoria's vote. Okay, Dan is saying this, but he's got all these other people. I can't trust him. Riley's someone that I can. Like, he's been very good socially aware about what's going on in the house. That doesn't always matter though if you're not in the numbers, and he wasn't. So
So true. Okay, so Alex finishes possibly his career with a 2.5.
yeah, no, Alex is one of the greatest to ever play. One of the best to never win. But yeah, unfortunately, this was not his moment.
No, not yet. Maybe for his 5th attempt. We'll see. Okay, moving on to Anthony.
I can start. I'm over it. I'm over it.
See, this is really difficult. Like, this ranking is really difficult because so much happened in the first part of the week, and then like the triple also happened. So it's like I wish we did
For
better,
me,
kind of.
this week was nothing but bad for Anthony. I really don't think there was anything positive, truthfully, because it would be one thing if like they decided to keep David because they're like, we've been working with David, David trusts us, blah blah blah. No, it's like they evicted Alex because they were like, we can't trust Alex. Alex is against like, no, very clearly not. You kept around the bigger so like I just so anyway, Alex left, which is bad for their games because Alex would have never gone after
Yeah.
Anthony and Victoria as of anytime soon.
Ugh.
Then they evicted Riley. This is what I'm talking about. Anthony and Victoria, no shadow of a doubt, are playing for 3rd and 4th place right now.
It's
That's what they're doing. Week after week, that's what they're doing. It should have been, they literally talked it out. They said, okay, if we evict Dan here, we piss off Kristen and only Kristen. If we evict Riley here, we piss off David and Damaris
and whoever comes back.
and whoever comes back. Let's flip a coin. Oh, we stick with Dan. Okay, final 4. Like, they are the two. They're consistently dumb. Why? Like, Anthony literally 2 days ago was like, Dan's got to be the next to go. He's such a big threat. And the minute someone else wanted to take that shot or someone wanted to do something that wasn't him, he flipped and he solidified with them. And now he is blinded by this. Now he's saying, like, David's got to go next week. I'm like, no, you're playing Dan's game right now. And the only thing that I can kind of say about Anthony is maybe he's not targeted next. But here's the thing. You've got Haley and Riley coming back. Neither of that, Riley knows Anthony and Vic were the ones to flip on her. She's not mad at Dan and Kristen. She's not going to be mad at David and Maris. I think if Riley comes back and wins HOH somehow, she puts up Anthony and Vic. Then you have Kristen. We'll talk about Kristen. I'm very excited for Kristen, but we'll get to her soon. She's been saying for weeks now, we cannot go to the end with Anthony. Thank God someone's thinking with their brain. Then now you've pissed off David and Maris, who are really good. Like Anthony, you know that Maris is good at bullshitting people. But normally she runs back to you and tells you the truth. No, now Maris is bullshitting you, and you're not going to see it if she gets the chance to blindside you. David is pissed at Anthony. Like, no one is with him. No one is with him. So this is just about, like, he's playing, truthfully, this week was like solely to benefit Anthony's game. And it was kind of, it's insane and it's sad to watch because Anthony was a great player up to this point, and now it's just being dumb. So for me, I was at a 9 2 weeks ago. I was at a 7 this week. Continuing that straight line down, I'm at a 5.
Yeah, I actually slightly I don't fully disagree with you. I slightly disagree with you. Based on the ending of this triple eviction. I think that if they evicted Dan, what they should have done is they should have gotten David to use the veto and put up
Yes.
Kristen without anybody knowing. I don't think they should have evicted Dan.
Sorry, I do agree with. I don't even necessarily agree with that
Because Dan versus Haley in the battle back definitely comes back. And I think Dan.
I don't think so.
Really?
Haley is so good at competitions. She does have the disadvantage of being on a boat right now, but do not underestimate Haley in a competition. She's good.
We'll see.
I don't think definitely, but you are right. They were on FaceTime last night and they were like, our cards get exposed. Literally, I wish that it could just be Dan and Kristen on the block because then we wouldn't have to expose ourselves. Okay, the veto is in your side's possession. Tell David to use it. Whether or not it would have worked, David had the safety deal with Kristen. He seemed pretty unmoving, which is also stupid. But like, they just weren't thinking with their brains.
Yeah, I'm also going to a 5. But I just wanted to clarify that point there. Because I really think that if they had more time and it wasn't a triple eviction, they would have figured it out. But still, they were stupid. So they're like, I'm just upset. Oh my god! Look at that plummet. Okay, wow, Daniel.
Wow. Wow is what I have to say for Dan. So I do have some positive things to say about Dan, but I also have some negative things where statistically after last week, Dan should have been out. And this had to be the most clutch win we've seen so far in this game, where not only did Dan win HOH for himself, but he also completely turned back the tide of the game to solidify himself a spot, I think, still for a good bit. That takes a lot. Like, it'll be one thing if, like, you had a, like, for example, with Cade. Cade had a one-off HOH. He took off someone and he was out the next week. Dan is not out the next week. He just survived 2 evictions. And most likely, I think, I mean, we'll see who wins HOH, but I think most likely it survives another one. I think Dan is one of the most likely winners in a jury vote because he's got friends on the jury that respect him.
Probably the most.
And why people like refuse to like consider taking him out seriously is insane to me.
I have no idea.
The only thing that I will say about Dan and why I don't have him slightly higher is up till the end of last week, which was the triple ending. That is the end of last week. All of Dan's conversation has been with Kristen Yes, Burger Queen. Like David's got to go next week, and then Maris, and then Riley, and then Burger Queen to the final four. Are you dumb? I don't understand why you want to go to the final four 2v2. That's dumb. Especially when you're getting rid of people like Riley, who could have been with you. It's dumb. For that reason, I am like my score on Daniel. We're gonna see it in the graph. It's gonna do a major
Mhm.
swoop. I am raising my score a lot. I was at a 7. I went all the way down to a 3. I am going all the way back up. Close. I'm giving Dan a 6. Um,
I'm actually gonna go all the way back up to a 7. I'm not sure if I had a 7 in the week before, if I had an 8 or what I was at, but I'm going back to up to a 7 for Dan. Um, this week, first of all, agreed, clutch win after literally blindsided with Cassidy being evicted. Um, I do think getting Alex out, finally he realized it. Getting Alex out over David was the better move for him.
it was a better move for him. Yeah.
And being blinded by David's eviction did not get him in even more trouble. Like him not like I can't believe that he was HOH this week and David didn't go home because of him. Like he chose not to have David go home,
Which was the right move,
which was correct.
clearly, after what has happened.
He's been fucking it up all game and it almost got his ass out the door because of the flip vote. Um but yeah, Dan is set up very, very well. Um, and oh my god, David and Maris are still stupid. I don't even want to rank them. I want to give them a 0. Um, but I'm staying with 7 for Dan. 6.5.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be very interested to see. So many of these rankings now almost become arbitrary. Like you're gonna see last week if like the rankings have been like this. Last week they went like this, and this week they're gonna go back to this.
Mm.
And in all honesty, it could continue to flip around a bunch. We'll see. Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. David. So let's look at the positives from David's game over the
Yes, positives. One, he saved himself.
he stayed because of his campaign. So okay, positive. Did I have the 7 last week? Yeah, I did, right?
Yes.
Yikes. Okay. Other positives from David's game. He won HOH and did not go home in the triple eviction. Positive. Trying to continue this. I cannot.
Why? David is the king of bouncing checks. I like listen. I can't,
Okay, here's my
I
thought. I
can't
don't think
entirely fault David. I can't entirely fault David.
I was gonna say I don't think he's dumb for keeping Kristen. Like I don't think that he was like, oh, I gotta risk it and because I have to keep Kristen safe. I think it was more of like I didn't know they were gonna do that to Riley, and I thought Riley was more with Dan.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like, oh, I promised Kristen safety, now I can't do it. I'm gonna risk someone go like he didn't know,
Exactly.
which
I
is
can't
also his
fault
fault. But
David because Anthony and Victoria should have been with him. Riley, in his mind, is close with Dan, and Riley is not with him, whereas he did just make a deal with Kristen. And in
mhm.
a world where all of those things are true, Dan and Riley do make sense as nominations. Unfortunately, Riley is not, or Dan is not as tied to Riley as he should be, quite frankly. As is no one. And Anthony and Victoria are not with you. So because of that, you got played, and now you're in a he is the number one target going into this week, and he cannot play for HOH. And there's no safety comp. The only thing that he can do to save himself is win this veto. And unless Maris wins,
But I think it's gonna be it'll probably be
but I'm gonna be real. This competition is gonna take brain power and logical thinking, and we know Maris's track record with that. So we'll see. But I don't have like literally like I'm not holding my breath that
No.
Maris is gonna win this HOH. Um,
I'm going all I'm going all the way back down to a 4.
um, I'm going down to a 3. So yeah.
Oh God. I'm so
Um,
I'm so
he's
sad.
just
Like
yeah, like I can't
you
even rag
had
on
to
him. It's not to his own, well, it is to his own fault, but like that should have been the right move if all of his facts were true. So at least there's that, I guess.
Haley.
I really don't have anything to say about Haley, if I'm being honest. Ever since coming back, largely in part due to being on a boat, she hasn't like if I'm like she hasn't she's not a part of the game.
No, not really.
She really doesn't have any allies, especially now that Alex is gone, and she got evicted. And then she
She's a victim. I
and
love that
then
that wasn't your first point.
and then she has to come back into the game where Riley will also be gone. So now you truly have 0 people, except for Kristen. Thank God for that.
She lost an ally. Also, she was evicted. It was giving. It's giving. This wasn't the best week for Darby. She was literally evicted from the game and
Yeah.
came back.
Um,
Okay,
I don't have anything else to say. I'm going down to a 3, and I'm just gonna leave it at
I'm
that.
also going to a 3. My gut tells me she's. I mean, I'm not gonna underestimate her. My gut tells me she's not gonna win today. To be really honest. But we'll see. Okay, Kristen.
Okay. Now someone that I'm excited to talk about. The only person that I came into this week excited to talk about. For me, the Kristen that we saw 2 weeks ago, when I gave Kristen the 7 and I said, okay, dark horse. And then we dipped because Cassidy went home and she was blindsided, and that was bad.
What's bad?
But this week, only positives from Kristen's gameplay. First of all, we saw her make the correct read that evicting Alex was better than evicting David. Um, she was a large part in convincing Dan, I think, and like keeping him in the loop of like, no, I think this is good, supporting this decision. She has been the biggest proponent in Dan's ear, and he's finally coming around to it of being like, we cannot go to the end with Anthony Victoria. Anthony beats us. He's played a perfect game. And Dan's like, but does he? Yes. Well, actually, now with this jury, I don't know. And how with Anthony's playing now, I don't know. But at the time, yes, like Anthony was playing the perfect game. Kristen has been the only one to point that out. Kristen has had Haley on the side. They've had Riley on the side. Now, granted, only one of them will be there, but that's still good. She made the safety deal with David, which saved her ass. Like actually did. Anthony and Victoria chose her side, and if they ever do decide to flip, Dan is always the bigger threat to take out first. I think Kristen, hopefully, is sitting in a very good position, and it's not in prior seasons where it was like, for example, no offense to her game in season 7, I think her seasons, no, I'm this Stephen, this is where we disagree. I don't I think Kristen's game in season 7 was largely Niall's game. I do not feel that way. Like Kristen is playing such her own game. It is a great game. It is a smart game. It is a social game. It is a strategic game. Like I don't have enough positive things to say about Kristen. And I just literally pray that she doesn't go home. Like Kristen is the one hope person that have like it's still nice and is still playing a good game and is smart and like please don't screw it up, Kristen Rake. I'm hoping for you. I'm going back up to my 7.
Me too. I'm going back up into my 7 too. Kristen also like Kristen winning this season would be such a good like she would have won the first time. She almost won the third time. Like she just needs to pull it out. She's consistently like well not every time she's played, but she's played for a majority of her time that she's played across the franchise like strong, good. So like I would like to see her win. She's someone that I don't actively hate right now, which I think you're right. She might be one of the only people on this board that I don't actively dislike right now. Um, I just I don't want her to take Dan to the end. Like that's not what I want to see happen.
And I don't necessarily think it's guaranteed to happen.
I think Dan will 100% take Kristen.
I agree.
I hope Kristen doesn't take Dan. I don't want her to take
I
Dan.
think Kristen is smart enough not to take Dan. The big question really is, who's the other option in the final three? That's the
Yeah.
big question.
I think it's
I agree Kristen would take Victoria over
I was gonna
Dan.
say I think it's likely it'll be Victoria.
We'll see. We'll see.
But I don't
Yep.
want Victoria in the final two, so I don't want that to
I don't want Victoria in the final six. I
happen.
don't want Victoria in the final seven. Anyway.
We don't want her in the final 18. Oh, did I say that out loud? Just kidding. Love you. Okay, next.
Um
Maris. Wait, I didn't do her line yet. Hold on.
Oh my god.
Also, okay, wait. I we're kind of starting with Maris at the end here. I was like, yes, Maris, get blindsided and figure out that Anthony and Victoria are not working with you. And then she was like, well, they must have kept them in so that Dan would go after us. That's definitely what it was. No, they've been working with them all day. It's stupid.
I'm so dumb. Okay, anyway. Back to the beginning of the week. Maris started the week looking for a beach patrol pair. Well, no, sorry. Let's go back to there. So much happened this week for Maris, and it was all bad. Okay. Maris started this week having just made the correct move, flipped the vote.
She said the week is over. I'm gonna go back to being dumb.
And literally afterwards was like, oh my god, that was the wrong move. No, it was not. No, it was not. It was the right move. So if we could own it, that would be great. Maris, you're going to have very little to claim at the end of the season. This is one of the moves. So claim it. Hold on to it tight. We're not giving you much else. This week starts. Let the Anthony brainwashing begin. We're looking for beach patrol partners. And this is something that David also really screwed up, in my opinion. David was like, Maris, I put you number one. I put Alex at number two. I don't know what happened. Well, no, David, if you put Maris at number one and Maris put you at number one, you would have been partners. So she was very quick to realize, like, no, David did not put me at number one. Are you frozen? Or no, you're not frozen.
No, I'm here.
So then she tells Anthony this, and Anthony's like, it's clear that David doesn't trust you. And Maris is like, yeah, it's clear. Like, are you kidding me? I just kept Alex too. Like, so dumb. Then David and Alex go up on the block. Maris wins the veto. You would think, okay, Maris would absolutely save David her final two, right? No. Anthony convinces Maris to like keep them the same, like stick it to David. And then Maris was like, yeah, I'll stick it to David. And then we just vote Alex out. And Anthony's like, uh-huh. Because at the time, that was not the plan. At the time, Alex was going to stay and David was going to go. So when Maris did not use the veto, she was actively sending David home at the time and was convinced otherwise. Lucky for her, David is what we call good at the game. And Maris should take notes because David put up a good campaign and saved himself and stopped Maris from looking like an even bigger doo-doo fool. Okay. Finally, during the triple eviction, when Victoria won HOH and didn't put up Dan, that was the first red flag. I wish that was enough for Maris to go, no, David, you have to put up Dan and Kristen. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And then Anthony and Victoria played her, and Riley went home. However, here's the good news. At least as of right now, Anthony has started his brainwashing tactics again. And Maris has gone to Anthony and has been like, I'm like, it's okay. I still trust you 100%. But like, you should have just told me. And Maris is now like, they're done. Because listen,
Maris for HOH.
if there's one thing that you do not do, you don't cross Maris. Because Maris is never like Anthony
Oh,
could
she'll
like,
never forgive you.
like Anthony could win HOH.
Maris put Riley
Send
put
home,
Maris up like 8 weeks ago, and is still as a pawn against
Anthony
Nora.
could win HOH and could send home Dan, and Maris would still win the next HOH and send home Anthony over this. Like, you know what I mean? Like Maris holds a grudge. For better or for worse, she holds a grudge. Unless
I'm
you're
going
gonna
down to a 3. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna speed this up as well. I'm also going down to a 3 because if David, most likely, assuming that she doesn't win HOH, David wins the veto, bye Maris. And if David doesn't win the veto, you go home next week.
What's the veto?
Well, don't we'll talk about that.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right.
Um,
I saw your text about it. I agree with what you said, by the way. I don't really care.
Cool.
Or we'll talk about it. But okay. Riley had 6s from both.
I he I wish that Riley, this is gonna sound crude, but oh well. I wish Riley was smarter. Like she keeps running back to Dan. This is the third time now that he's like screwed you. And you have all the facts that he screwed you. So I don't know why every time, like, then Dan gets on a FaceTime and he's like, Riley, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, blah, blah, blah. And Riley's like, okay, I still trust Dan. I'm like, why? Why? She's so expendable to everyone. I'm hoping for Riley, like, I literally hope and pray for Riley that, like, if she's gonna go down the Dan and Kristen route, fine. If she gets any ounce of power, it has to be Anthony and Victoria on the block. It has to be Anthony and Victoria on the block. And she has to hope then that Dan and Kristen, if they lose Anthony and Victoria, they pick her side, which they will, I think. Like this is like I would love to see Kristen choosing Riley to take to the final 2. Like that would be good. But Riley is quickly losing options in the game, and she is choosing the trust Dan option. She needs to talk to Marison. Like Marison and David need to reach out to her if she comes back ASAP. That's the other thing. She might be out of the game for all we know.
I'm also going to go down to
I'm
a 3 on
down.
Riley.
What?
I'm also going down to a 3 on Riley.
What do I have in my notes? I'll stick with what I have in my notes because I'm either at a 3 or a 4. I'm at a 4 for Riley.
Okay.
And that's strictly because yes, she did get evicted, but if she comes back, I don't think she walks right back out the door, and that's the only reason I'm at a 4.
But I also think that
she also got evicted, so
yeah, she is quickly running out of room to win this game too.
Yeah,
like she needs to start like doing stuff. Okay, Victoria, always our pleasant last person on our rankings.
Literally, Victoria is a person I love you to death. I didn't think I could hate anyone more than I hated Maris's moves, but I think you've actually beaten that. I hate the delusional Alex BS. Like literally, I've never heard a more delusional statement than this. No, Alex is clearly lying to us. He lies every single season, and it always gets him far. He's gonna screw us, and then he's going like he does every season, and then he's gonna get to the end and he's gonna win. Okay, Victoria, let's look at the facts. Alex is clearly against us. No, Alex has always and done nothing but tell the truth this game. He's been in an alliance with you since day 1 and is clearly going after Dan and Kristen. So that's point 1. Number 2, he always lies and does this. No, Alex is one of the people that like literally always tells the truth. It physically like hurts him to lie. He can't do it physically, I think. 3, he always gets far. No, literally, if this was season 1, he would have been out 2 weeks ago. This is season 2, he would have been out last week. So most of the times that he's played, he's never made it to this point in the game. 4, he's going to comp his way to the end. I love Alex to death. He was a great comp threat on season 5. Alex has not won a single competition this season. Not a one. The only comp record to his name is the one that Haley and K-Pow won. And he was just on their team. So, like, he's not going to comp his way to the end, truthfully. Anything can happen, but, like, you can't bank on that being a reason why to get him out. That's ridiculous. Anthony was right that David is more of a wild card because now you have David against you after this move. And she was the biggest proponent. Like, Anthony was at least talking things out. Victoria was the one to be like, yeah, I guess we just go with Dan. I'm over her. 3.
3.
We're lucky it's not a 2. I like literally so annoying. I think like listen, no matter because at the end of the day, you might
These
go like,
rankings
oh,
are
Victoria's
low.
in the same
Holy crap.
position. Oh yeah, there's a lot of red on this board. At the end of the day, you may go like, well, Victoria's in the same position as like Anthony or
No.
Fan. Here's the thing though. At this point in the game, we are now looking at win equity, and Maris, I think, has truthfully a 0% chance of winning. Everyone thinks she's a joke, and quite frankly, she is. Sorry, she's only been puppeted this whole game. And she's convinced, I don't care if she's convinced that she hasn't been. Like Maris, remember when Matthew told you that Anthony and Victoria were running the game and they needed to go out? And you were like, Matthew has such a poor read on the game, as if I would ever do that. Bet you wishing you didn't do that now. So that's bad. Victoria's another one. I really think maybe her comp wins like turn it around for her. But like Victoria either gets taken to the end or like takes Anthony to the end. Victoria never like takes the right person to the end to win. I'm truly convinced there's no scenario.
And I would
I
not.
think Victoria's another one that has almost a 0% chance win equity. I think even Riley, I don't think has a huge shot to win. I think we're looking at the winner either being Anthony, Dan, David, or Kristen. And it's a matter of who gets there. I think David is extremely unlikely to get there.
But also, like, if any of the 4 of them were to win, I would be happy overall. As a winner, I would be happy.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't change the fact that it's boring to watch.
So true. Okay, let's wrap this up. We got Kristen at the top here this week with Dan right behind.
Who is, by the way, this is the first week since week 1 that someone besides Dan or Anthony has been in the number 1 spot. So that's a fun statistic.
And it's also, it might be the first week since week 1. No, I guess last week was probably. That's a 7 or below. That the highest score was not above a 7, I'm pretty sure.
Besides last week, yeah.
Besides last week, I'm looking at last
and week 1, but
yeah, since week 1. So we're going down, as Kesha and Pitbull would say. And that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah. I think we are in. I would love for them to prove me wrong. I think we're in for an extremely boring end of the season.
We'll see. But if we have nothing else nice to say, let's not say it at all. Okay. Bye.
Bye.